All right, let's switch topics here. And it's funny that Jimbo just said breaking news rumors of grand jury convening in Turtleboy and Karen Reed witness intimidation. Will you be discussing? Guess what? We're going to discuss it right now. Let me pull the article up here on the screen so you all can follow along. So Ted Daniel reporting today. Oh, excuse me. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know this was the hearing was today. I forgot that it was today. But I'll read the headline and then because I don't have my glass. Actually, you know what, Nan? I might be able to actually read this. So, but if
I'm
I
here
lose it,
if you
I'll
need
have
it.
if you pick it up. So it says Boston 25 News. Ted Daniel, our favorite, chimes in, says judge to rule on search of Karen Reed's phones in witness intimidation probe. So I want everybody to know Karen's phones got seized like almost 2 years ago or maybe a year and a half ago. And the the police have still been in possession of this. I mean, this should have been turned over to her after the trial was concluded, but they've done this long-winded holdout of getting her phones back to her. So it says a judge is set to rule on whether the state investigators can search 2 cell phones seized nearly 2 years ago from Karen Reed as part of an ongoing witness intimidation investigation. Reed's phones were a focus of her hearing at the Norfolk Superior Courthouse in Dedham involving content creator, Free Karen Reed activist Aidan Carney, known as Turtleboy. Reed did not attend the hearing, and Carney appeared by video. Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove hired the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office to seek access to the device as he seeks to determine if Reed conspired with Carney to intimidate witnesses in her now concluded murder case. The phones were seized by Massachusetts State Police before Reed's first murder trial, but as Cosgrove confirmed to Judge Peter Corrupt during a brief hearing, they have not yet searched because they do not have the passcodes. Attorneys for both Reed and Carney vehemently exposed the prosecutor's request, opposed the prosecutor's request, excuse me. Reed's lawyer, Steve, I think it's Buzang, criticized
Yeah.
the delay in the intrusion, telling reporters outside the courthouse that they requested their request was utterly and completely ridiculous. She doesn't want them to download the phone. Why should she? Why should they? Buzang said, noting that the phones contain Reed's sensitive personal information, including her bank, financial, and health records, and that the prosecution has held them for 2 years. Aidan Carney's attorney, lawyer Tim Bradle, echoed the settlement, stating, Mr. Carney fully supports. Every time I read these statements from lawyers, I always just hear their voice in my head, like Bradle's voice. Mr. Carney fully supports Miss Reed on this idea, and the government has no right to do this. They can't sit on this stuff. They choose to forgo opportunity to search these for 2 years. They get They get whipped, and suddenly they want to scrap through her stuff. Carney himself is already facing witness intimidation charges, the aggressive activism towards police and people who testified in both of Reed's trials. A jury found Reed not guilty of murder of John O'Keefe during a retrial in June. Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove did not comment to reporters after the hearing. Judge Corrupt announced that he would take this matter under advisement, indicating he plans to issue a decision on the fate of the phones, whether to search parameters or order their return to Reed in the coming days.
Hmm.
I will go to my panel. Go ahead, Nan.
Well, I have to say, I'm happy you could read that because just
I
from
couldn't
my
read it.
vantage point on your screen through StreamYard, it's a little small for me. So I'm happy that you were able to. So I heard today's hearing, and I have to say I was appalled at the fact that this is even an issue. There's case law that clearly supports returning her phones to her and a timely search of through warrant of the contents of the phone. What I'm not certain of, because I've kind of heard mixed things, so I always tell people when I don't know something, what I'm not certain of is whether indeed they did download the contents and export all of the contents and data from the phone, because I did hear mixed reports on that. So I'm just saying at this point, if they did, they should have reviewed it because it appears that the warrant would have permitted them to do so, or to have a tape
Mm,
team review the contents, because there most assuredly would have been communications with whether it was David Yannetti or any other counsel. By the time of January of 2024, she had Alan Jackson, Eliza Little, like a bunch of attorneys. And I look at what happened today and I'm saying, why is this getting kicked down the road further? And the judge does not ask the tough questions to Cosgrove or any prosecutor. I frankly didn't hear him ask any tough questions to any prosecutor in the matters called before that. What a judge should be saying is, what it took you so long? Why is this an issue? Why does she have to file a motion to get her phones back when
mm.
she was acquitted of murder charges in June? Here we are 3 months later. Right now, I'm frankly surprised that this is still an issue. There's a lot of constitutional nuances I could get into, which probably would bore your audience. I'm happy to do that or answer any questions on it, but we'll have to wait and see what he does.
Well, Cheryl has her opinion. It says because the judge is an asshole. Sorry.
Thanks,
Justine
Cheryl.
checking in. Hi, Brian and Todd. Todd, anything you want to add here? I mean, is this a witch hunt, Todd? Is this what this is now? It's a witch hunt against Karen Reed.
I just can't believe they cannot cut Karen loose.
Yeah.
They whatever they can just hang on to and drag through. I mean, her vehicle is one issue, the phones are another issue, and it's just enough is enough already.
Oh, wait. Gator
Yeah.
Girl says on 3/20/25, Brennan told the judge that Cosgrove downloaded the phones and had the info video for receipts. Interesting.
See, that's a good point, Gator Girl, because I remember that also. So
Mm.
because there seems to be equivocation from the attorneys on whether or not they were downloaded, I can't give sound guidance to you all as an audience, but I what I can tell you is the warrant would have permitted it, and whether they downloaded them, the contents or not, they should have. Right now, it just feels like what the Commonwealth is doing is it's just pure punishment. It's vengeance. You know, you guys lost. Take the L and leave. Holding on to these phones because there's pending criminal charges against Aiden Carney, it just to me feels like retributive. And when you're in a position where you've lost and you lost big, take your ball and go home. And they're not doing that. And this judge, respectfully, is enabling this type of behavior. We're seeing the same type of thing in Aiden's matters where things just getting delayed, delayed, delayed. So if I get some type of firm confirmation that they did indeed download the contents, I would be able to better guide on it. But as of right now, I recall a grand jury already looked into a witness intimidation plan
I
or
thought so.
conspiracy and that preceded trial 1.0, and that would have been, let's say, the spring of 2024. And if
Hmm.
that's the case, most certainly in my mind, the Commonwealth would have looked at the phones. They would have tried to see the contents because they would have brought that before a grand jury. That grand jury returned a no bill. They found no probable cause to bring up either Aiden or Karen on witness intimidation conspiracy related charges then. So you can't, while you can represent matters before grand juries under limited circumstances, this would not
Mm.
be one of them.
It's just it's just scary. I mean, it just goes back to, you have to look at like Aiden and all of this. He's a journalist. He's doing his job. He's reporting on a story, and they tie him up. They want to give him 105 years, and that's pretty scary for journalists in Massachusetts. So, what if I go out and cover a story and I have a source, and they're giving me information for things to write about or telling me their side of the story that I possibly could be locked up for writing that story or talking about it? That's
Right.
pretty nuts. It's pretty scary. and a
And
huge impediment on the First Amendment. I mean,
And
uh,
if Aiden is to be believed, then and I don't really know if he's dug deep and looked at, because I don't think he has his phones, although I don't know. But he
hmm,
seems to recall there's nothing of substance during the relevant time period between the two of them. And for him to say that so confidently, I have every reason to believe him. So at this point, just give the damn phones back, because all the Commonwealth is doing by holding on to these and putting up this fight is bolstering her civil rights action, which is
Right.
yeah,
coming down the train
yeah.
tracks.
Go ahead, Todd. Did you want to jump in there?
That's a great point, Nan. It's just, you know, it's time for them to get off this ride because they're not helping themselves. It's they're cutting off their nose to spite their face type behavior. One, it's a
Right.
lack of professionalism. Two, she's given her legal team a lot of fodder for their case against the Commonwealth or whoever else they're going to sue.
Yep.
Let's say the judge gets access to, which I think is weird because didn't they download like they'd already downloaded Aiden's phones, didn't they? Didn't we already see some of the stuff that they tried to download off that?
That's my recollection as well. This case has so many twists and turns, and because
Yeah.
there's two of them, and really two trials for Karen plus Aiden's, and Aiden has multiple charges, the facts get a little hazy sometimes. But
Yeah.
I thought that they did download his phones, and now we're seeing um, redacted, or we will see redacted parts of those downloads coming out. That's my recollection. Now,
But
I will
some of
say
the
one point. Oh, I'm sorry, Todd. Just to one quick point. A lot of people have said, and I think I've heard Aiden say, well, they already have my phone, so why do they need her phone's
Right.
content? And I would simply point out that there's nothing wrong with that. From the Commonwealth standpoint or an evidentiary standpoint, it is permissible and probably advisable for a prosecutor's office and a defense to see and compare both, because one side could have deleted some of the
Mm.
messages. So you compare them and juxtapose them. Sorry, Todd, go ahead.
Thanks, Nan. I was just going to say, from an investigative side of things, the downloads would have happened right within 24, 48 hours of receiving them, and they would have had to been in alignment with what the search warrant, certain
Yes.
specific dates and
You would
times.
think. You would think.
Well, again, are they going to shoot themselves in the foot with showing that they went outside the scope of the search warrant as well?
Yeah, just that's a good point, Todd. Now, does this bolster their counter, their counterclaim against the state? Does Karen's team now be able to kind of spit this back and say, look, you didn't download any of the messages or what the data that you wanted within, like Todd said, 24 to 48 hours within the investigation. Excuse my language, but fuck you. You're not going to download her phones and we want them back. I mean, does that bolster their claim, Nan?
It does. It absolutely does. And this whole plan, or I'm not even sure it's a plan on the part of the Commonwealth, it might just be a delay to buy themselves time until they figure out what they're going to do with Aiden Carney, and how the charges against him, from my legal observation, are they're just kind of imploding. Whether you have certain fact witnesses who have become agents of the state, and I'm not going to go into the details of who they are. You have conflicts of interest arising. Cosgrove, especially appointed district attorney Cosgrove, has to be either removed or to recuse himself from some
Mm,
of the pending charges. There was, as of 2 weeks ago, I believe, roughly, an order entered by Judge Doolin that said you have 30 days to Morrissey to find someone else to replace Cosgrove.
yeah, I
So
remember that.
Aiden's cases, all of them or most of them, are kind of just crumbling in his favor. So, with all of that said, I think that the Commonwealth probably has the contents of Karen's phones, and they're just hanging on to them, buying themselves time until they can figure out what the next gamesmanship move they want to make is. And if I were to predict, I think it's ultimately going to be a full dismissal of all of the charges against Aiden at some point. I don't know when, no one hold their breath, but I think it will happen. And Karen's phones will ultimately be returned to
Mm,
her. There's no urgency in her getting them back. I want her to get them back. She's entitled to them, but it's not like, oh my God, there's something on these phones and I urgently need them back right now. So if everyone can be a little patient, I think it all will work itself out to Karen's benefit and to Aiden's benefit in the very near future.
mm. Karen in the room says that they didn't, Todd. They only because the warrant was only for seizure. They didn't get one for search.
See, this is where
So
I don't know. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
that strikes me as odd because if you think of an electronic device such as a phone as a container of information,
Yeah.
it's not a murder weapon, right? So it's not like you're giving back a gun to someone who shot somebody. What else would you want that item for? It's to capture the data or the information contained within.
Yes, and you had someone in your chat, Brian, I think Karen McGuire or someone
Okay.
I recently had also reiterated that representations were made on the record by Brennan in front of Judge Sisitsky in March, indicating that the phones were copied.
Oh, this is
So,
interesting too. Tridad says the O'Keefe suit has introduced the conspiracy between Karen and Aiden in its arguments. That's right. We
mhm,
heard that in the
mhm.
hearing. And they think they are trying to help. I think they're trying to help the O'Keefe suit as well. That's a good
That's a
point.
Yeah, Turdad, that's a really good point. I didn't understand at the time why the attorney for the O'Keefes was going down that tangent because it really didn't have anything to do with what was being argued on that date. That was a motion on emotional distress claims, but their attorney was just going on and on and on.
Hmm.
But yes, maybe there is some type of quid pro quo. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. Let's see if we can find any connection between Aiden and Karen that would bolster this conspiratorial aspect of the O'Keefe's claim as it relates to Karen's intentions and her conduct. Her conduct in order to satisfy elements of emotional distress claims
Hmm.
in that pending wrongful death lawsuit must have been quote unquote extreme and outrageous. And if that attorney who made those arguments before the court a week or two ago is to be believed, he is trying to argue that by Karen conspiring, allegedly, with Aiden to churn and foment this narrative, this public narrative that she was framed, that is extreme and outrageous conduct. I think it's not.
I was just
But
gonna say, so what? You can listen. You had every local and national newspaper around here printing photos of Carolyn and all
yeah,
like the psycho killer, like we read all the article headlines. So what if she wanted to get some positive press up? It's why she did Vanity Fair, that she wanted to tell her story straight, whatever the pieces of the story
right.
that we got in Vanity Fair. So what? She went to a couple people. Ted Daniel did great reporting. Of course, Aiden's stories and peeling back those layers were amazing. Vanity Fair did a good job. So what if she wanted to go out? She has every right to talk and tell, her side of the story if she wants to do that through the media, and it's probably very well guided by her attorneys.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
it's
it's
like
not intimidating witnesses by doing
no.
that.
No. Yeah.
Nobody, like everyone seems to forget, and present company excluded, and most of your chat excluded, everyone seems to forget that no one was focusing on her case until Aiden and then others started shining a light upon it.
Yeah.
And then once the tide turned and there was more public interest in the injustice and the corruption and the conspiracy to frame her. So she had every right at any point in time, whether it was early in her case where no one was showing up in her court appearances or later in her case. She had every legal right to talk to any journalist, to talk to anyone she wanted to at her own risk. And as we saw in Trial 2.0, despite the fact that I think it was improper, her statements that she made to anyone else, including the Datelines and or other, Gretchen Voss, those could have been used against her. Speak now or forever hold your peace. And words
Mm.
can be used against you, but she could have done that. I
Yeah.
feel very confidently that there's not going to be anything on these downloads of the phones that are going to cause a stir or cause any harm or legal jeopardy to her of a civil nature, or criminal jeopardy to Aiden. So I'm not so worried about it, but I'm very interested in the constitutional railroading of both of them, frankly. They have rights.
So what I'm figuring here is that, and I'm probably really dumb to say this, so they didn't extract her phone for either one of the trials. Well, no, they didn't have them in the first trial, so the second trial, they didn't. So that's what my understanding. They didn't extract her phone.
Well, see, that's where first of
It's like
all, we don't
weird,
know. We don't know
right?
if that's true. This is the one fact where I'm tripping up because I thought Brennan said it in March too to
I
Judge
thought so
Sisitsky.
too.
But if if they did, so going into let's say trial 2.0, because these phones, well, the phones were
It was
procured.
trial two.
Okay, but the phones were procured in January of 2024. That was before trial 1.0.
That's true.
A prosecutor has a constitutional obligation to explore every single thing that he or she reasonably believes could be inculpatory or exculpatory of a
Exculpatory.
defendant under Brady and Giglio. Those are the two sentinel
Yeah.
cases on this issue. We've discussed this on other related matters. And with that said, if they had her phones, they absolutely would have looked at the data on them. And there would have been ways, meaning applications they could have made to Judge Canoni, who, I'll say it respectfully, was very liberal in what she permitted the Commonwealth to get away with. They could have made any application to Judge Canoni prior to trial 1.0 or
Mm.
2.0 that, hey, we can't get into her phones. They have a password. We need the court's relief. But no one ever did that. So they had, I believe they had the contents. I think Cosgrove misspoke today. That's a no-no for an attorney going into court, making representations to a tribunal. But I'll need to know a little bit more before I can definitively say that they indeed do have those contents.
Todd,
For,
go ahead. I was going to ask you a
for
question, but
the
I think
life of
you
me,
missed it.
I can't understand why you would retrieve a device that has information and not pursue the data, the contents on that device, even if you don't use it.
Right. And if you have it, if you have the devices and you have the data, you actually have to hand the data over because there could have been data that was favorable,
Yeah.
exculpatory data favorable to Karen, or certainly if it was inculpatory, if it could have further put her at risk of getting convicted before a jury, they would have handed that over. So I don't believe that they just, out of the goodness of their hearts, kept these phones in what's known as like a legal bailment. We'll just keep possession of the phones, but we won't look in them.
Well,
I don't buy
let's
it.
not forget Proctor going through images. You're
It's
going to
true.
stop at images?
Yeah.
Exactly. He
It
was
just
looking
doesn't make
for
sense.
nudes.
He
Yeah.
Yeah.
admitted that on the stand. So in my mind, that's one layer. You know, calls at certain dates, times is another layer of data to be examined and analysis. That's basic investigation 101.
They wanted to seize her phones to shut her down. I mean, you can go and get another phone, of course. But if there was information that she needed on there about her case, or some things that might have come through as a tip or whatever, you don't have that digital footprint to go back and look. Who knows? Maybe she's writing a list of notes and outlining her
Hmm.
case through her phone, and they snatch that. You don't have that in front of you anymore, so you might not be fully recall it, which I think Karen probably could. She's pretty damn intelligent. Um, but what I'm saying is, shutting her down in the fact of not being able to communicate, not being able to look at, maybe there's documents on her phone that she needed to look through. I mean, we heard in the interview with Ted Daniel, she said she'll get a docket and it's 165 pages, and she's scrolling through it and trying to read it on her phone as she's maybe driving to court or something. So maybe that's what this whole thing is, just seize them, shut her down in some capacity. She'll have to go out and try to get a new phone or whatever, but we've now got that information that she could access at all times, and she's not going to be able to use that to recall a memory or a date or whatever it may be. So maybe it's something like that. I don't know. Mm.
Yes, and someone just put in your chat, I think they've looked through the phones illegally, and
Oh,
now they want to
100%.
cover their whats. That's quite possible. That's quite possible.
Yeah. Todd, when you do it, I'm sure you've done phone extractions, but what is the process of that? Is a machine they hook it up to, right?
I've never done a phone extraction. There are specialized troopers that are trained
Mm.
in that um, in that forensic evaluation, and they have software to retrieve the data, but you have to be certified to be able to pull that data.
Celebrite is one of them, right? They use
Exactly.
Celebrite, yeah. Yeah.
Carino, I think, was certified in some of that forensics.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
bite my
it's
tongue on his caliber because he seems to have missed 32,000 text messages on Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore, between
yeah.
them. But
We'll
Yeah,
just
he must
ignore
have
that.
gone to the basic course.
Yeah. It's the could you imagine that was just printed out and put, like, on the courtroom table? Like,
yeah,
here's all the t I think they did that before. Didn't they do that in a political matter? Uh and I don't want to get political here, but I think it was when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, and it was the communications, I think, with Benghazi, and they brought the stack of emails in and put them on the desk and said, "Here's all the communication that you supposedly didn't see." But I digress. I don't want to get into that. But I bet that would be
just
amazing, though.
the
The visual
visual
of it,
demonstrative
right?
of that.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I hope
unbelievable.
if there's a trial that they actually do that, because I think that would be a great visual for the jury. Like, this is, oh, you said you didn't see any of these,
Right.
and just this big stack of papers. So I digress on that. But yeah, I mean, this is it's wild. And I just think it's another witch hunt to try to catch Karen up on something like, oh, she got out of the criminal trial. She's getting pressed hard on this civil trial. We just saw some motions passed on that. Um, you know, um, with the emotional damages and how that's all going to be kind of divvied out in this case, and that's going to be so complex, that civil trial. And we talked about it a couple of times here, and my prediction, you won't see that probably conclude within 2 to 3 years, and that's even if they come to any type of settlement before that. We
Hmm.
even heard Alan Jackson saying, "Yeah, you never know. We're always open to something." So, um, I don't know. It's just to me, it just seems like another witch hunt that they want to try to catch Karen up on something, and obviously keep pressing on Aiden for whatever their reason is. Oh, it's probably the fact that we didn't get her, but we're gonna get this guy, and then maybe we can get something on her. But I don't know. That's what I
For
think of all this.
now, I think the tide is definitely turning. And certainly by December, once there's at least that is a hearing, I think it's December 5th. There's a hearing date on some of his matters. I think that's also a date that the judge today ordered for return on this issue involving the phones. Oh, I'm glitching. Todd, I'm glitching for
Right.
you. Okay, it's
Of
good. It's a
course.
good night. I'm back to normal. But I do think that by December, if not sooner, we're going to start to see the tide really turn favorably in Karen's direction and most notably in Aiden's direction.
Yeah. Tammy says, you think that they are running scared uh, in what to and want to put her in jail to stop the civil suit. Well, the civil suit would just continue, right, Nan? That
Yes.
just yeah, that would there's no really putting someone in jail when they're in a civil trial because it's not a criminal matter. It's more monetarial damages that they're seeking. So you're not being criminally held for any type of charge like murder or
Right.
manslaughter. That's a civil matter. So she can't go to jail for that. But um, and I don't even know I mean, what are they trying to are they gonna charge her with something? Like, what? I don't get it. Like, what is this all about? It's just stupid. The whole thing
I
is dumb.
think they're looking to re not re, I don't want to say re. I think they're looking
Rehash.
to find new ways to
Like,
charge
aha,
her.
we got her. Aha, we got him.
Yeah,
Ah.
which is why this feels like vengeance to
Yeah,
me.
it
And
is.
this fact that we do have double jeopardy in our Constitution for the United States, and that means you can't be prosecuted twice for the same crime. So it
Right.
just feels to me it's like laden in, well, let's try another avenue with her. And that's not proper. So I'll need to know a little bit more. I'm going to keep an eye on this. But the Commonwealth is absolutely bolstering her civil rights action. This is a bad decision that they should just return the phones. They should just return the phones. I think right now it's a little bit of a kangaroo court going on in Morrissey's office. They had poor communication and, frankly, poor prosecutorial skills and policies before all the light started getting shined on upon that office and its leaders. And now, especially with the conflicts that are arising and the removal or recusal of specially appointed prosecutors like Mello and Cosgrove, I don't think one hand knows what the other hand is doing in
Mm,
Morrissey's office. And I think it's that mixed with Morrissey's trying to save face. Morrissey, in my opinion, hates Aiden. They want, as they go into this election year, Morrissey does,
mm.
I think he wants to try to turn it around somehow. And if he can possibly get Aiden convicted on some of these charges, which he will not be able to,
Yeah.
it may turn the tide as to how he's viewed. He, meaning Morrissey, is viewed publicly.
Yeah.
It's
Karen
almost like
says, go ahead, Todd.
I was going to use the analogy. It's like Morrissey made a bet at a casino and lost the big hand, lost the second big hand. Now he's going to triple down with Aiden and put
Yes,
in even a bigger into the more chips into the pot. So it's
Yeah.
just got to get off this circus wheel.
Yeah.
agreed.
Karen in the chat says they're trying to find new evidence to bring back the grand jury, but like Nan said, they can't recharge her. That's double jeopardy. So you can't
But they
go
The
can't
ahead,
same
Nan.
recharge her.
crime.
Sorry, Brian. They
No,
can't recharge her for the same
same
crimes.
crime.
And you can represent things to a grand
Ugh.
jury even though there was a no bill. So what I don't know exactly what was presented to a grand jury in the spring of 2024 as it related to witness intimidation and Karen Reed and Aiden Carney. I don't
Mm,
know that, and neither do all of you, because grand jury proceedings are secret. But we know that. We know that happened. So I have a feeling what Morrissey's office is looking to do is to find more evidence to represent to a grand jury and say, well, here we go. Here's this. There's more evidence. Do you want to issue an indictment now, grand jury? Like a newly
mhm.
composed grand jury? That's what they're looking to do, probably. It's very hard to figure out what Looney Tunes are trying to do. You know what I mean? These are, in my opinion, ethically compromised groups of attorneys working for the Commonwealth in Norfolk County. So it's very hard to read the tea leaves as to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they said Trident says they can charge her with a felony conspiracy and witness intimidation. Look, Cosgrove style himself is as a man of honor. He had the power to stand up in court today and say, "We are dropping this." It's a very good
Yes.
point.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. Juju says, "You can't." Sad, you can't fix stupid.
That's
It's
a
very
better way
true.
of saying it. Yes.
Yeah. And then Dee's asking, why wasn't this brought up in the trial with Jackson?
Well, during the trial with Jackson, you're talking, I'm assuming, right,
Alan
the trial
Jackson.
2.0,
Right.
she wouldn't have had her phones back. So you get your personal property back after you're acquitted.
Yeah.
Typically, it happens
How
within
long is
about
that?
60
Yeah.
days.
She got her
Some
SUV back.
after she,
Yeah, she had to
Had
fight
huffed
to
and
for it.
fight
puffed
for it.
about
Right.
it. Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't understand that either. It's just a normal manner of course that you about 60 days you get your property back. So Jackson wouldn't have had any reason to bring this up during the trial.
Hmm. Yeah. We're gonna have to keep our eye on this. How do you know how long I didn't get to watch it? Do you know how long the hearing was today, Nan?
It was aired on, I watched it on the Young Jerks, and it was about halfway through the stream that it started, and the whole argument took about 20 minutes.
Oh wow. And try to again chime in says it's nonsense. Walsh had his phone back within 48 hours and his trial's not even started.